Hello and welcome everybody on the first educational video of GaborSpeaks.com. And I'm going to talk about Dr. Jordan B. Peterson's speech that he gave in Zürich about a week ago. So it was the 19th of January. And why am I going to talk about this lecture? Well, this is after all a channel about public speaking, a channel about education of public speaking. So why? Well, first because it was a speech, and fair enough, Jordan Peterson is a clinical psychologist, but he's an amazing public speaker. He is fantastic. So when I was there in the audience, I was blown away. Mind you, I have heard a lot of public speakers in Toastmasters, and I have seen district champions, area champions, club champions, even world champions, two of them, second placement on the world championship, but nobody had such an effect on me as Jordan Peterson. I was sometimes catching myself just sitting with a mouth open, like, and sometimes the cries, the teardrops of joy just came down on my face because it was so amazing, just so amazing to see him, and the insight that he gave, it was fantastic, phenomenal. And that's why I want to talk about him, because first, he's an amazing public speaker, and secondly, his insight was fantastic. And this is the insight, or a tiny part of his insight, that I'm going to reproduce here in this video. So stay tuned for that. What was he talking about? He actually gave a sort of an impromptu speech for 70 minutes. An impromptu speech in a sense that he made a lot of steps up on the go. And also, you can say that it was not entirely an impromptu speech, because he was just using all the material that was in his head already, some pieces, and put it together in a new way, right? And the question that he got from a journalist right before this lecture was the following. In your book, you say that femininity equals chaos and masculinity equals order. Why do you make this equation in both cases? And Jordan Peterson answered this question back then, and he was not happy with his answer. So he just came up with a lecture to answer the question properly. Oh well. Okay, so what he said is that, first of all, femininity equals chaos. It doesn't necessarily mean bad, right? From chaos come also new things, and also chaos can destroy, for example, bad structures. And bad structures could be tyranny, where people cannot live freely, right? And this is why chaos is important in recreation. And right, order is not necessarily good if it's tyrannical. So we need chaos to overcome this tyranny. And that's what we see, for example, in revolutions. This is what happens, right, when there is an order, for example, a kingdom with an evil king, and then this evil king is going to be overthrown. There is going to be chaos after that, but there's going to be a new order, which is hopefully better than the last one. And he also said that this order, when you are experiencing a tyrannical order, then you have the option to get out of it. But freedom comes with a lot of negative things also. And he took the example of the Jews, right? The Jews, when they moved out of Egypt, so the exodus of the Jews in the ancient mythology that can also be seen or read in the Bible. And he said that, okay, there was no tyranny anymore, and what waited for them after they escaped from Egypt was not happiness and excitedness all over the place. No, it was 40 years fucking marching in the desert. And this is what also happens to you if you want to escape a tyrannical order. Like, for example, this is what happened to me when I wanted to escape the corporate world, right? I was not aware where I'm going. I was not aware what I should do. I was really lost. And, if people like my parents didn't help me, I would have been, I don't know, destroyed to the point where maybe there would be no turning back. So this is really important to see that, okay, you get rid of tyranny, and then what you might discover that tyranny wasn't that bad after all. So this is one very important point, that, okay, there is order and it can help you a lot. Even if it's tyranny, it can help you a lot, but you will eventually crave for freedom. And once you take this leap of faith from tyranny into freedom, then you're going to have a lot of trouble, because then you're going to leap into chaos. But once you get yourself together, you are going to arrive to something new. And hopefully this something new is going to be much better than it was before under tyranny. Okay, so he gave an example of an ancient story from the Egyptian mythology, which was the story of Osiris. And the story of Osiris began with him being the pharaoh, right? He is the god and also the king, the pharaoh of Egypt, and he rules over the land, right? So everything is his wherever you can see. But he has an evil brother. And this evil brother is called Set, and Set is up to no good, right? He's looking to backstab Osiris. But Osiris is oblivious to this fact. He doesn't really want to see this. And what happens is that when Osiris is probably having a good day, right, enjoying his kingdom, enjoying ruling over the kingdom, or just doing his daily chores, he is indeed backstabbed by Set. And because Osiris is a god, Set cannot kill him, but he cuts him into little pieces, and he just disperses these little pieces all over the kingdom. And this is still quite a bad situation to be in, right? Okay, you are not dead, but you are scattered around, small little pieces. And this is kind of similar than what we see in Harry Potter, by the way. And this story is also similar to the Lion King, if you remember. This movie, Lion King, was my favorite ever when I was a little child. And I was just 6 years old, but I had to watch it 3 times in the cinema, 3 times. And the only other movie that I did watch 3 times was The Lord of the Rings. So this is how impactful was that for me in my own life. And Lion King is so amazing. But so anyway, this is the parallel between the Lion King and the story of Osiris. That we also have Mufasa and Scar kills Mufasa, and then Osiris and Set kind of kills Osiris, right? He makes him disappear, let's put it that way. And then at this point, Isis comes into picture. It's not ISIS, right? So not the Islamic State of the Levant. No, we are not talking about that kind of bullshit here. No, we are talking about Isis, the goddess, right? That I look at her as the archetype of the queen, right? And also motherly character. Well, Osiris is the king and the fatherly character. Isis is the queen and the motherly character. And Isis wants to save Osiris. Like, he's her husband and also wants to reestablish order in the kingdom. Well, I guess this is also her motive. And she finds one part of Osiris, presumably his penis, because he just she's going to go forward and have sex with this part, and she gives birth to Horus. And Horus is different from Osiris because he is depicted as a hawk, right? He has a head of a hawk and two big eyes, so he sees a lot of things in the land. And he sees these things and he sees that the situation is quite bad. So he proceeds and tries to save the kingdom. And how to do that? He goes on and fights Set. And during this big epic fight, he loses one eye. He loses one eye, but still he defeats Set. And then when he defeated him, he puts this eye back, so he has still the full sight. And then he could rule at this point, right? Because there is no competition. His father is scattered around. Set is defeated, although not killed, because he is also a god, so he is just banished from the kingdom. He's banished from the kingdom, and he is the only one that is left. Yeah, he could rule. He could say that, bitches, I am the only one here. I could rule everything that I see here. But this is not what he does. What he does is that he goes out and assembles the parts of Osiris. Assembles the parts of Osiris, puts him back together, and then they rule together. So it's not just him, Horus, but also Osiris. And this is a very, very interesting story. And we had a lot of questions about it that Jordan Peterson answered. And this eventually leads to the answer why femininity is chaos and why masculinity is order. And I'm going to cover this in the second follow-up video. Stay tuned for that.